Do I support mass deportations? Why would I do that?
Yeah, if they're illegal.
These people are contributing to the United States. They're contributing to the GDP.
And when you see stories of a woman like Laken Riley, the nursing student in Georgia who was brutally murdered by an illegal immigrant, you think the blood is on the hands
The
of...
right wing likes to pull that out and forget that native-born Americans are much more committing of crimes and are much more responsible for the crime rate that we have than any immigrants. Immigrants have traditionally low crime rates, and so that's just more nonsense from the far right to distract people from what the facts are.
Adam and Eve, not Adam and Steve.
Shut up, Joe. Leah and I have already talked about your search history. We all know that you love lesbians.
Whoa.
Because who else is going to make them feel as stupid as they are? Who? Being a menace is life-giving, okay? It fills my soul with an eye-rolling joy rivaled by only one thing, okay? As a straight white female, I am just privileged enough to be extremely problematic. I am becoming a professional instigator. I honestly didn't know that ruining their Marmalade Messiah fanfiction would be this fun. If they want to worship a little fat man in Depends, then I'm going to grab them by the wampus ween, and the more they squirm, the harder I'm going to squeeze. If they're not red in the face defending their 80-year-old Cheeto man, then I'm not working hard enough. I'm not here to make warm family memories. I'm here to make them feel as uncomfortable as they've been making others feel for the last 8 years. I'm not ruining the holidays. I'm just fact-checking their MAGA fantasies and calling out their wild hypocrisies. Every time they quote Fox News, I choose violence. I might as well feed my cold, dark heart with their discomfort and shock. Their cognitive dissonance is my love language. Their discomfort is foreplay, and I haven't finished yet.
I visited my 84-year-old Republican Trump-supporting grandpa at his assisted living facility yesterday, and he was watching Fox News, and they were talking about the No Kings protests, and I poked the bear and I said, "Why are you defending his ability to call himself the king of the United States?" I was like, did you forget why the United States exists? And he goes, "I've never heard him call himself the king." So I showed him the video that Trump posted where he's wearing a crown and dumping shit all over the protesters, and he literally looked mortified, and he looks at me and he goes, "I don't believe that. I don't believe that he posted that." So I find a bunch of news sources confirming that he did in fact post that, and one of them was Fox News, because that's the only news source he'll listen to. And I said, look, this Fox News article literally shows that he posted it. It confirms that he posted this video. And even then, he was trying to scramble to find some way to make it fake. Like, he was saying, well, I didn't get that on my phone, or like, they didn't say it on the TV on the news. And I was like, do you really think that they're gonna blast that everywhere? It's not exactly his proudest moment. The people left that do support Trump still literally are willingly ignorant. They choose to remain ignorant because they cannot accept that this is their reality and that maybe they've been lied to. And for a moment there, the genuine distress that he was in had me almost feel bad about disrupting the ignorant bubble that he lives in.
The only requirement to run for president in this country to have money and to either be a pervert, a rapist, or a war criminal. The more I learn about US history, the more I am convinced that every single person falls into one of these three categories. And even if they don't start out as one of the three, they eventually become it. And I'm sure a lot of this has to do with the fact that men historically have only been in office. We have not had any women, which personally and statistically, I feel that women are less likely to violate the civil rights of others. But even some of our better presidents still have had insane sex scandals. They've cheated, total ethical lapses. Even with the release of the Epstein files, there's people in there that you would not necessarily expect to be fucking creeps. And the worst part is that even if they didn't specifically engage in these activities, they A, knew what was going on, and B, did absolutely nothing to intervene, and they shut their mouths and let the trafficking continue. At this point, I will be shocked the first time that we have a president with zero SA allegations. That to me would be equally as surprising as them electing a woman because of so much misogyny.
Even though I voted for Trump, I still don't like this post that the White House made on X, basically joking that deportations are like music to our ears. Don't get me wrong, I voted for policy, not feelings.
You voted for this. When you vote for cruelty, don't be surprised when you see cruelty. You heard Trump say this.
They're not humans. They're not humans. They're animals.
And this.
They're eating the dogs, the people that came in.
And all of this. But this ASMR video was too much for you? You're just upset that this administration that you voted for is taking pleasure in enacting cruelty. Whatever policy you voted for resulted in this tasteless ASMR gimmick where the dehumanization of people is not only being encouraged, but being laughed at. When we dehumanize each other, we eliminate empathy. We forget that support of certain policies actually affect real people, like the people in that ASMR video who are actually going through that and suffering because of it. Trump is using wartime resources for some of the most aggressive mass deportation plans ever, doubling the number of troops and National Guard members at the southern border, using military sites to detain people. These facilities are not built for that. The conditions are often terrible. Reportedly, children and teenagers have been suffering distress and panic attacks while being held in them, often for months at a time before they can be released. Tightening of security requirements for sponsors of migrant children only make it more difficult for them to be released from federal custody and reunited with their families, which doesn't help the overcrowding issue. To support themselves and their families, immigrant children risk working in illegal and exploitative workplaces, sometimes at the cost of their lives. Evan, you say that deportation has to happen with a level of human empathy, but then you also say that you're happy with the policy progress that Trump has made. This is the kind of cognitive dissonance I find really frustrating with Republicans. We all agree that we need to operate with empathy, but that's not what you voted for. These jokes, these trolls, are just ways for Trump to downplay his own provocations. We've seen it time and time again. He doesn't really mean that the 2020 election was stolen. The transition of power will be smooth. Oopsie, made a whoopsie. Every joke, every troll is just an admission of what he really wanted to do all along. Fascist trolling is still fascism. The insidious dehumanizing of others for the purposes of comedy often influences people to revel in the suffering of those people rather than oppose it. Selena Gomez got so much shit for her video crying over the treatment of immigrants that she had to take it down, but the sound of shackles framed as ASMR on the official White House social media accounts, that's just fine. Do not fall into the cycle of degrading others because it's convenient, fun, or politically advantageous. These are people, and we need to treat them as such. We need to not vote for cruelty, although it's a bit late for some of you. We can learn our rights, refuse ICE's unwarranted entry into our workplaces, schools, and residences, send messages to Congress, share resources with our neighbors and communities, donate to charities. Just because the White House celebrates inhumanity doesn't give us permission to. If we want to see more empathy, vote for it. Advocate for it, embody it, build longer tables, not higher walls.
What the fuck is up with 18 to 25-year-olds right now, you guys?
So clearly I'm not Gen Z, but they're the generation I worked with the most since going into the field of mental health in 2004. So here's my perspective as a mental health professional. 1. Gen Z is the first generation in a long time to grow up truly feeling like they're not safe. They're the first generation that couldn't escape bullying. Unlike previous generations, Gen Z came home from school and still had to deal with texts, tweets, DMs, snaps, all this intrusive messaging that didn't stop. They were exposed to 9/11 as kids. They grew up constantly hearing about mass violence at schools, concerts, clubs, malls. They witnessed politicians choosing money over their safety. Many of them started early adulthood at the beginning of a pandemic, where they watch vulnerable groups of people such as the elderly, disabled, immunocompromised, and the BIPOC community lose their lives in larger numbers because a worldwide pandemic was politicized. Gen Z witnessed many Americans, some of which were their own parents, fight for their right to endanger the lives of other people because a mask and a safe vaccine were just too much. And before even hitting adulthood, Gen Z is either experiencing themselves or watching people that they love have their basic human rights stripped away. All because another person's religion doesn't approve of their existence. Gen Z is the first generation to have incurred this much debt with little to no way out of it. They're the first generation to truly accept the idea of getting help and support with mental health services. And as a result, when they're able to express themselves in healthier and more positive ways, the older generations are calling them crybabies and too emotional. And when Gen Z expresses frustration, anger, sadness at what they are seeing going on around them, they are being told they are entitled and lazy. One of the most important factors
is that because of the explosion of social media in their childhood, they grew up seeing all of the craziness that happens outside of their small bubble they grew up in. And they're the first generation to witness that since childhood. But here's the key difference. They grew up seeing it, but because they were children, they were unable to do anything about it or control it. And that's what causes issues. But they can control it now. They're mobilizing because they can now. They're not helpless anymore. And we as the older generations can do one of two things: help support them or get the fuck out of their way. Because they're coming whether we like it or not. That is why I admire them. That is why they have earned my respect. They refuse to continue to be victims. So that's what's going on with them. Now let me ask, are you going to support them or are you going to get out of their way?
Just register Republican. Just register Republican. You're a blue dot in a red area, just register Republican. Then you get a say in who gets to be their primary candidate. Register Republican. Just register Republican. It doesn't matter. You can go online. That little card doesn't make a difference. It doesn't actually mean anything. You can just register Republican. Let's all just register Republican. We can all register Republican. What will happen if the Republican Party and the MAGA Party all starts getting crazy leftist LGBTQ folk and we can all just register Republican? There's nothing stopping them. If they're going to round up all the leftists and the Democrats, we can all just register Republican. It's all fake anyway. It's all made up. Register Republican. You can vote for whoever you want in the general elections, but in the primaries, you would have a voice in a less crazy candidate, maybe making it to the last stage of the game here. Just register Republican. Just do it. Just register Republican. Nobody's going to stop you. You can do anything you want. Just register Republican.